Good morning.
You seem rather chipper this morning.
Yes, surviving an attack from a homicidal maniac has that effect on one. How are you feeling, Cyril?
Better, thank you. Although I do have a splitting headache.
That's hardly a surprise.
I'm so sorry, darling.
Don't be silly. I shouldn't have snuck up behind you.
Poor Cyril. First poisoned, then knocked out.
Can I get you something, Lord Bertram?
Just some tea. Thank you, Mercy. Where is Harris?
He's with the inspector.
Poor thing. Good morning, Maud.
If you'll excuse me.
What did Dr. Cavalier say?
Yeah, he didn't find anything to be concerned about.
Perhaps he should have looked a bit closer.
Constance,
Don't bother, Maud. There's nothing you can say that can undo what has been done.
Good morning, children.
Good morning, Mother. Good morning, Father.
Bertie, where is Nora?
For heaven's sake, she's still upstairs, reeling from the events of last evening.
Good. Your mother and I have something to discuss with the three of you.
With only you.
Wait, please. I have something to say. There is no excuse for my behavior last night.
Suddenly, it's developed a conscience.
Let your sister speak.
I can't explain it. It's as though I've been searching for something that's been missing. When I found Cyril, I thought that was it. And then when I lost him, the feeling amplified so that all I could think about was trying to get him back. But something strange happened last night.
You can say that again.
Bertie.
I was crushed, you see. A lifetime of never being clever like Bertie or beautiful like Constance. I realized last night that it wasn't Cyril at all. But I was missing it. It was something deeper. A part of me.
Oh, Maud, will you ever forgive me?
Whatever do you mean, Mummy?
There are some things your mother and I need to explain to you.
Good morning, Lord, Lady Dalton. Can I get you something?
No, thank you. Mercy, have the papers arrived from the solicitor?
Yes, sir. I put them on your desk in your office.
Thank you. And should the inspector be looking for us, tell him we've stepped out for some air.
Yes, your ladyship.
The three of you must come with us at once.
And then what happened?
I headed for the circuit box and then I heard a scream. I headed towards it and got knocked on the head.
And you didn't see or hear anyone?
It was dark as a moonless night, sir.
Very good. Tell me, how long have you been employed here, Mr. Harris?
All in all, it's been about 18 years, sir.
That's a long time. You don't quite seem old enough.
I came on when I was 16. I started as a hall boy, worked my way up to footman, then valet, and now head butler.
I see. And how Is it that you were brought on as a hall boy at such a young age?
Due to Mr. Wilson, sir.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. My father.
If Mr. Wilson is your father, why are you called Harris?
Once I started my employment, I took on my mother's maiden name, so as to avoid any complaints of favoritism from the staff.
And does anyone else know of your kinship with Mr. Wilson?
Only his lordship.
I should like to meet this Mr. Wilson.
I'm afraid that's impossible. He's passed on, you see.
My condolences to your family.
I haven't any other family. My mom died of Spanish flu last year, and my dad just passed last week. I never had any siblings, so it's just me, I'm afraid.
I'm very sorry. Did your father contract the flu as well?
That's what they think. Not certain yet, but it's all right. I'm lucky. I've got a good job, and I may not have a family of my own, but I do have a family in the Daltons. I'd do anything for them. Anything.
Do you regret not having a family of your own?
It was never really in the cards for me, you see.
And do you feel the Daltons consider you a part of their family?
I do.
I did notice that Lord Bertram seemed especially concerned with your well-being last night.
Yes, we've been friends for a long time.
Splendid. Would you say you show partiality to one of the Daltons over the others?
My father taught me to be good in service. Requires perfection and precision. Partiality doesn't enter into it.
Yes, of course. I shall rephrase my question. Do you think any one of them shows partiality towards you?
I couldn't say. Perhaps you should ask Daniel about that.
Daniel McCarthy, is it?
Aye.
And why should I ask Daniel about that?
It's no secret amongst the staff that he and Lady Maud have a special connection.
Well, thank you, Mr. Harris. That'll be all for now. Could you send Mr. McCarthy in, please?
Very good, sir.
Top of the morning, Inspector.
Good morning, Mr. McCarthy. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Not at all. I've nothing to hide.
Yes. When did you begin your service here?
Just before the end of the war, sir. So, about a year.
And what brought you to Cheltenham?
Well, if I'm telling the truth, Inspector, it was Lady Maud.
Is that so?
Aye. We met at a flower shop in town. I was inquiring about any work they might have, and their current gardener had just recently enlisted.
And did he not return from the war?
No, sir. He did not.
And how would you describe your relationship with Lady Maud?
I'm her gardener, and she's a lady of the house. That's simple.
Is it? She seems to have quite a strained relationship with her family.
Oh, you are astute, sir. It's sickening the way they treat her. She's got so much love and kindness in her. The rest of them should be lucky to know her. They treat her like garbage, they do.
Is that why you gave her the monk's hood?
Oh, you are good, Inspector. You are good. I did take the proper precautions, wrapped it up nice and tight so she wouldn't have to touch it. And be sure I warned her, it could end her up in an eternity box.
But you didn't ask why she wanted it.
It's not my place to question a lady of the house.
No, I suppose that's mine. Did the thought not occur to you that she might have wanted to cause someone harm?
Harm? Lady Maud? I've never even heard her raise her voice to someone, let alone cause someone to lie down the knife and fork. if you know what I mean.
Then how do you explain her little sleight of hand with Mr. Walker?
Oh, Mr. Walker. He pretends to be all up to crust, but he's not always cracked up to be. Lady Maud is better off with how it played out.
How what played out?
It's not for me to say, but there's more than one love triangle under this roof.
You mean other than the one involving Lady Maud, Mr. Walker, and yourself?
Pish posh, no love triangle there. And even if there was, that'd be of the least concern.
Then who is of most concern?
I won't speak ill of my employers, Inspector. But if I were you, I'd ask Mrs. Davies Dalton about it.
Nora.
She's a little minx, she is.
Is that so?
Aye. And she's found a way to make certain that she becomes the lady of the house, one way or another. If you know what I mean.
I believe I do. That's very informative. Thank you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an appointment with Miss Cranshaw. Thank you for your time, Mr. McCarthy. Good morning, Miss Cranshaw.
Please, call me Eve.
Eve, I hope you were able to get some sleep.
I'm afraid not much. I'm sure you have plenty of questions for me, so let's get to it.
What do you think I want to know?
Let's see. Why did I lie about who I was? How could I be so cruel to poor Maud? Why my husband was found dead in the hall?
We'll get to those. But first, I'd like to know how it is you came to know Mercy Clark.
I'm afraid that's not the most interesting story. I met her a few years ago.
I see. And where did you meet?
Actually, right here in this room.
Is that so? How is it that you were at Cheltenham before?
It was a big party, quite lavish. Lord Bertram had just opened a new play to rave reviews, and there was a celebration here for everyone involved.
And how were you involved?
Oh, I wasn't.
I'm afraid I don't follow.
I wasn't involved with that show or any theater here in England at the time. I had just come over from the States, you see, trying to make a splash in the London scene. It so happens the person I was seeing at the time had worked behind the scenes on Once Upon a Midnight. That was the show.
I see. And was Mercy working here?
Yes, her family's been here almost as long as the Daltons themselves.
So you struck up a conversation?
Yes, although not the conversation you might think.
Go on.
I'd been here over a year, and the splash I was hoping for was more like a drip. I wasn't getting any work. They didn't seem as interested in an American actress as I'd hoped, and I didn't have a playwright for husband. I did, however, have an audition coming up that I wanted to do some research for. The role was a lady's maid. After asking around, I finally spoke with Mercy, and we exchanged information. She was very helpful, and we developed a friendship. Being new here, I didn't have many friends.
And did you get the part?
As a matter of fact, I did, and that role is credited for turning that drip into the splash I was hoping for. If it wasn't for Mercy, I don't know that would have happened.
What brings you here now? Better yet, what made you think you could go unnoticed, having been here before?
When Mercy told me what she'd discovered about Simon, I knew I had to help her. I owed it to her. As for going unnoticed, that was the easy part. They're not the nicest people, you see. I'm sure they have no idea I was here that night, and they probably don't even remember having that particular party.
What makes you say that?
Lord Bertram is as well known for his lavish soirees as he is for his devilish behavior. They like to show off and drink. Doesn't really matter who's watching.
And is that how your husband ended up here?
Let me clarify. He may be my husband, but we are and were no longer living as married.
May I ask why?
The truth is that he is and was a horrible, abusive brute.
I see. I hate to ask, but I don't suppose you could prove that.
Such a male response. Can't say I'm surprised.
I don't ask to cast doubt over your account of events, merely to corroborate details and separate fact from fiction.
Yes, well, if you look into any number of the reports I filed against him in this last year, they will speak for themselves.
And did Mercy know of your marital issues?
I told you we were friends. What do you think? If there's nothing else, I'd like to return to my room. I need to rest.
Of course. Thank you, Miss Cranshaw. And for the record, I do believe you.
I guess we'll find out, won't we?
Good morning, Mr. Walker.
If you say so.
Is everything all right?
What? Oh, yes, you'll have to forgive me. I'm not quite myself.
What's troubling you?
Nothing a Bloody Mary won't fix. Mercy,
Yes, sir.
might I get a glass of tomato juice?
Of course, Mr. Walker. Can I get you anything, Inspector?
Oh, no thank you, Mercy.
Very good, sir.
I understand your family deals in fabrics.
Indeed they do.
And for how long would you say?
Long before I was in the picture, that's for sure.
And are you a willing participant in your family vocation?
Don't have much choice, do I? To be honest, I didn't much care for it when I was a tot, but the more I learned about the process and all the work that goes into making a beautiful tartan, I was taken with it, you might say. You might say it was my destiny.
It's rather intricate work from what I understand. From the winding, and the dyeing, to the darning and the finishing.
Oh, it's a skill, that's for certain. Skill and patience.
Much like crafting a story. Or an alibi, should one need one. May I ask, how is it that you and Constance met?
Certainly. I had been courting a mutual acquaintance of ours, and Constance and I hit it off. One thing led to another, and here we are, happily married.
So it had nothing to do with the Daltons' financial trouble at the time?
Look around, Inspector. Do they appear to be in any financial trouble?
You got me there. Of course, just because a newly made bed looks like a dream doesn't mean that spikes don't lie in wait under the covers.
Best not to jump in bed then, eh?
In my experience, beds are where most people get into trouble.
Is that right? You must learn an awful lot about people's secrets in your line of work.
More than I care to admit.
Lucky for me, I haven't got any.
Don't you?
Your Bloody Mary, sir.
Just in time.
Just one more question, if you don't mind.
Mind? Why would I mind?
I was sorry to hear about your family's financial woes.
Is that a question?
Not exactly.
Yes, well, now that the war has ended, I have every confidence that business will pick back up.
I do hope so. But if not, it doesn't hurt to be married to the second in the line of inheritance.
Still not a question.
No. But perhaps an answer.
I'm afraid I've never been very good at riddles. May I go?
Yes, of course. Mercy,
Yes, sir.
would you please ask Lady Constance to meet me in the conservatory?
I'm afraid she's out, sir.
Out. What do you mean, out? I'm trying to conduct a murder investigation.
She and the rest of the family have gone out for some air. I know that complicates things for you a bit, but we're just not used to this kind of thing around here. I think they're a bit rattled is all. But I can bring you to Miss Davies Dalton's room, if you like. She just finished her breakfast.
Yes, thank you.
I can't believe it. I just can't believe any of it.
I know it's a lot to swallow.
What do you think he'll ask me?
Whatever you think, you're wrong. He's got a strange way of finding things out, he does.
Maybe I should just go. Just pack up and leave.
Aye. And while you're at it, attach a big banner to the back of the car that says, I did it. I'm the killer. Come get me.
But I didn't kill anybody.
Then what are you carrying on for?
Pipe down. You've got to calm down, Simon.
Why did you bring me here? My life was fine the way it was. Now, thanks to you, everyone here thinks I'm some vicious murderer.
No one thinks that of you. You're here because you belong here. And I'll be sure you get what's coming to you. It's the last thing I'll do.
Oh, well, look here. Is today some sort of national holiday for lazy service workers that I'm unaware of? Get back to work, the lot of you.
Where have you been, Mrs. Knievely?
What do you mean, where I've been? I cleaned up after dinner. I went home. I went to bed so I could just get up and do it all over again. Where have you been, he asks. Not tripping the life fantastic in the south of France, I can promise you that.
Simon, before you go.
What do you want now?
Inspector Wallace would like to speak to you in the music room.
And, how did you meet Lord Bertram?
It's a funny story, actually. It must have been 5 or 6 years ago now. I was young and innocent. Not like today.
Aha! So you are guilty then?
You flatter me, Inspector.
Excuse my impertinence. But please, go on.
You're excused. I was auditioning, you see, for Bertie's newest play, Twice the Beauty.
Twice the Beauty? It was a hit from what I recall.
It was, in fact. But you see, I was no one back then. Personality and droves, mind you. But talent, that was a more questionable component. Don't get me wrong, the talent was in there. It was just young and bridled, unfocused. I was like a wet clump of clay in need of the skilled hands of a superior sculptor. Anyway, I show up at the theatre, I'm the first one there, early bird and all that, and I strike up a conversation with a very nice young man. Slender, handsome, unassuming. He asked me if I'm familiar with Bertie's work, and I, being as green as the summer grass, told the truth. I believe my actual words were, not really. I don't care for the words much.
How very honest of you.
Honest and stupid. Can you imagine my surprise when I walked out on stage to audition, only to see this unassuming young man I had spoken with earlier was in fact Lord Bertram Dalton, the playwright and author of Twice the Beauty.
And did you get the part?
I did. Against the odds and objections of many. Bertie took a chance on me. He leapt blindly and turned me into something, someone special, and for that I shall always love him.
I heard that he may not be the only Dalton you love.
Yes, people talk, Inspector. It does not mean what they're saying is true.
Certainly not. I've also learned of certain other interests of your husband.
My husband is a very worldly man. Can you be more specific?
Interests that don't involve you, per se.
Bertie and I have a very special relationship. He is my champion, and I his muse. We make magic together, so if
On occasion, one wants to explore other artistic avenues. It is not only understood, but forgiven. All roads lead us back to one another.
May I ask you one more thing?
You may ask anything you wish.
How was your childhood?
I'll admit, that was not what I expected to come from your lips. My childhood. It was a complete and utter disaster. My father is an abusive brute, and my mother may as well have been a doormat. I do, however, have them to thank, in part, for my success.
How's that?
All of the emotional scars they have given me have led me to be one of the greatest actresses of our time. Now, is there anything else you would like?
That'll be all for now. Thank you, Mrs. Davies-Dalton.
No. Thank you.
That's quite nice.
Sorry, sir. I shouldn't have touched that.
Don't worry. Your secret is safe with me. Why don't you have a seat?
Yes, sir. Anywhere in particular, sir?
Right here is fine. So how are you, Simon?
Well, I'm a little nervous.
I understand. But try to relax. I'm just here to get at the truth.
That's the thing, sir. I don't even know what the truth is anymore.
Why don't we start from the beginning? Where are you from?
I was born in... well, I always thought I was born in Lincolnshire, sir.
Lincolnshire? Just south of Yorkshire?
That's correct. Right over the border, as a matter of fact.
And, did you grow up there?
Yes, I lived on the farm with my gran and granddad, you see. The Grigsbys.
Your speech is quite plain for someone who was raised in Lincolnshire.
I attended Winchester College.
That's a long way from home. Winchester is an all-boys school, if memory serves me. Must have cost quite a sum between terms and fees and boarding.
Yes, I'm not sure where they got all the money, but they did.
If I may ask, how did a graduate of the Winchester College end up in service?
I was a driver during the war, recruited right out of school, but when I got back home, my gran and my granddad had both passed away. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but then out of the blue, I got a message that someone was looking to hire a driver. So I called them up, and they told me where to be and when, and that I should go by the name Philip Martin.
What happened when you arrived here?
Well, when I first arrived, Mercy mistook me for the new valet. I tried to tell them that wasn't why I was here, but everyone was so busy I just kind of got swept along.
So, you just played along? Why?
I shouldn't have, I know. But I needed this job, whatever it entailed. So, I kept my mouth shut. But then, last night, I honestly had no idea what was happening. I never meant to get involved in all of this.
All right. Take a moment. Would you like some water?
No, sir. Thank you.
Let's focus on last night. You said you were on your way to Lord Bertram's room with his tea when you saw a figure at his door.
That's right. I couldn't make out who it was. I just caught a glimpse before the power went out. But I did see a gun.
And then what did happen?
Well, I ran down the hall and struggled with this person. I managed to get the gun away, but it went off. The gunman ran away, and I heard Mr. Walker, so I got scared. I dropped the gun and hid in the Prospero room across the hall. Once they started downstairs, I took the back stairs to the servants' hall. I just closed my door behind me when I heard the scream. That's the truth. I swear it.
And you've never met anyone here before tonight?
No, sir. I've never seen any of these people before tonight.
Thank you for your honesty, Mr. Grigsby. And may I offer my thanks for your services during the war.
Thank you, sir.
Begging your mercy.
Oh, you startled me. Do you always move about so quietly?
A good servant always remains unseen until needed.
Well, no need to scurry off.
Can I get you something?
Some water might be nice.
Right away, sir. Here you are.
Thank you. If you have a moment, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Of course, sir.
I understand that you've worked here for quite a long time.
As soon as I was old enough to earn a wage.
And how is it that you came under the Daltons' employment?
It was somewhat of a family thing. My gran worked here, as did my mum and my older sister. Though my sister weren't here for very long.
And why is that?
Any number of things. Myrtle was not cut out for service.
And where is she now?
It's anyone's guess. I haven't seen her in years.
May I ask you about some of the things you spoke of last night?
Yes, sir. I'll stand by everything I said.
I would like to start with why you felt the need to bring Simon here. And furthermore, why the use of a pseudonym?
It will seem a little out of place to you, but I can explain. I come from Yorkshire. I'm sure you can tell.
It is a rather distinctive dialect.
Yes. I know Simon's family, you see.
You do? And who are they?
The Grisbys were close friends of my parents. They had a daughter, Myrtle's age. She was more of a sister to me than my own. I came up here to work and eventually live. She worked on her parents' farm in Lincolnshire. She got into some trouble with a young man, and 9 months later, there was Simon. I tried to help as much as I could, but sending back money to help care for him.
And where is she now?
Last I heard, she was in America, married herself a banker, started a new life, made a new family.
That must have affected Simon greatly.
Not yet, sir.
What do you mean, not yet?
He doesn't know. It will crush him, sir. We were so young when Eleanor got pregnant, but she did the best she could. She sent back money to her parents so Simon could have a good life, be well cared for, get a good education, and so forth. Please, I beg your mercy, sir. That poor lad has been through so much in his short life. If you could keep this secret, I'd forever be grateful.
I must admit, I'm moved by both your honesty and compassion. However, I can only promise this. When the time comes and the truth of the murder is revealed, if Simon's past is of no consequence, then there's no reason for it to remain anything more than the past. As long as you can carry that burden.
I understand. And thank you. Is there anything else, sir?
No, Mercy. I think I'm going to break for lunch. Would you be so kind as to send something to my room?
Sir.
Yes, what is it, Bassett?
We found something, sir. Something that may have belonged to the murderer.
Excellent work, Bassett. Now let's find a killer. We seem to be narrowing in on the truth. With that in mind, I have but one question left to ask. Who do you believe to be the murderer? A. Harris. B. Mercy. C. Daniel. D. Simon. E. Evelyn. F. Nora. G. Cyril. H. Maud. I. Constance. J. Bertie. K. Florence. L. George. Tune in next week to find out the answers to that and more in the conclusion of the murder at Cheltenham Manor.